Hello, my beautiful people. Today, I thought I would do a quick wrap-up of 2018, my favorite books. I read 60 books in the year of 2018, so I picked my top 6. I figured that's the top 10%, and I disclaim that not a single one actually was published in 2018. I favor paperback books over to the hardback. I kind of intentionally wait for them to come out in paperback, and it is really rare for me to actually buy the hardbacks. And I also like to listen to other people's reviews of books before I determine if I want to spend my time and money actually reading a book. So I usually am on the back end of jumping on a lot of the reading trends, if you will. But if you're kind of that way, or maybe you missed some of these great gems over the years, this may be the video for you. So I am going to put these in order. I do not have the physical copy, so pretend like I am, because I lent it out. My number 6 book for the year was Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty. I discovered her through listening to this on audiobook as I made a very long drive across country for a family wedding, and I love this story of 3 women that have all had difficulties in relationships. They are bonding with one another, spending the book kind of sharing about those relationships and developments and supporting one another. But the premise of the book starts out with an incident, and we quickly find out that someone has died. And then every single chapter starts out with the 6 months prior to the incidents, 5 months prior, 4 months prior, the week before, all the way through it. And the whole time you're not exactly sure what happened or who's dead or who did the killing. And so it's this kind of talking about relationships and romances, but under a murder mystery whodunit, that you're deeply attached to these characters, and knowing the whole time that one of these characters that you're getting attached to is dead. So I found that beautiful and fascinating, entertaining. I also had gone through a bad divorce and relationship situation myself in 2017, so this was a good point in my life to listen to this and kind of also on that level really relate to the women, and kind of had a cathartic situation for me personally. So I have particularly recommended it to other people who have been in trying relationships in recent history. So if you're one of those people, Big Little Lies. Number 5 is Crazy Rich Asians. Yes, I'm late to reading this one, but the movie came out this year, and so I read the book thanks to Georgia Sunshine's channel, and I loved it. I found it clever and witty. Basically, it's an Americanized Asian culture that goes back to the roots where there's an extreme wealth, and so that kind of cultural shocks and differences and learning and humor and just good clean fun. It was also fun to then go see the movie, where I even have a theater that did it theme night where you got to eat dumplings and Chinese cookies while you watched the movie. So it was just a really enjoyable experience for me. If you're looking for a good beach read or something, this is a really fun book if you have not read it. Number 4 is the Iluminae series. This is the second one, and I actually like the second one more than the first one. I read both the first and the second one. I have not read the third one yet, so I'm not sure if the ending of the trilogy will be as satisfying, but this is the one that has the different artwork. It has emails, it has all these kinds of memos, video surveillance. It tells this kind of sci-fi world story of this corporation that is trying to succeed and profit-wise by basically taking out the competition entirely. So there's that common theme of a predominantly group of teenagers that are kind of on the cutting edge of knowing the hacking and the getting into the things and trying to make a difference. So if you're kind of over the whole Hunger Game Maze Runner thing, this might not be the book for you. But if you particularly like Star Trek and sci-fi and those kind of time, space, continuum, prime directive things, love this. One of my favorite reads of the year. Super fun. Really do want to read the third one. It's still in hardback though. Number 4. This one I haven't talked about before. It's a street cat named Bob. And this is the story of, true story, it's a nonfiction kind of documentary of James Bowen, who goes out as kind of one of the street musicians and plays his guitar and sings to make his living. And one day a street cat comes and kind of adopts him and follows him around and actually sits with him while he does his thing. And it's the story of his kind of philosophy on life and the reconciliation of now caring for another creature and what that all means to him and how that really changed his life. And it was just a powerful book. It was funny. I laughed out loud. It was touching. I did have to Google really quickly because I think this book was like, came out in 2012. So I had to Google real quick to make sure Bob was still among the living because I was so attached to him, and he is. He's alive and well. He is so, you know, older cat now, so he's not necessarily on the streets anymore, but he is still famous, and I think there's even a cartoon that they've made of him. So I think there is a sequel to this book. I might pick that one up, but that was definitely one of my favorite reads of the year. It really kind of also changed my perspective of passing along and seeing somebody playing a trumpet or singing in the street. So it's actually kind of shaped my life a little bit for the better in that way. The next one that I love is The Curious Charms of Arthur Pepper by Phaedra Patrick. I discovered a new author that I love. I just fell in love with Arthur and just his kind of set in the way habits. You know, he kind of thinks he's old and retired and done with life, and he rediscovers a whole new world when he finds his wife's charm bracelet on the 1-year anniversary of her passing, and discovers all these new things about her that he didn't even know, and in the process discovers all these things about himself. Beautiful, beautiful book. That's my second favorite book of the whole year. So my first favorite book of the whole year is really surprising to maybe even myself, but maybe to a lot of others too. It is a classic from the 1800s. In my search to read classics, I read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, and this is my favorite book of the whole year. It's fairly substantial, about 500 pages, but the characters, I got particularly interested in them. I was always kind of not wanting to put the book down, wanting to see what would come up next. I didn't mind the ending of it. I thought it was exceedingly interesting when you're talking about way before they had the technology that we have now to map the oceans, and how Jules Verne just paints this amazing adventure of under the sea that was just fascinating, and I loved the writing style. So I look forward to reading some more of him. I will give a mention that has now become one of my all-time favorite classics. The only classic that I love more than 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is The Picture of Dorian Gray. This is my all-time favorite classic, and I thought I'd go ahead and mention that because sometimes it helps me when I'm listening to other book tubers talking about their reviews to know what it is that really excites them, because if it's the same things that excites me, then I usually am more inclined to like the things that they like. So hopefully that helps a little bit. If you're looking for just starting out on the classics, if that's one of your goals for the year, those are the two I highly, highly recommend that you start with. See how you like them, how it goes from there. I wish you and yours a very wonderful, happy 2019, and look forward to more great reading. Blessings, y'all.